Welcome to the Emisarios Unidos de Luz channel. If you enjoy this near-death experience story, consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. Now let's start with the story. My NDE occurred the moment I fell unconscious to the anesthetic in the operating theater at the hospital. As the world turned black, I was overcome by a growing sense of foreboding as I suddenly found myself before a swirling orange and grey vortex. By some unseen and irresistible force, I was drawn into the roiling flue, and as I neared, my initial sense of foreboding escalated into pure dread as fear defiled my every thought. To my consternation and disappointment, I could hear the words "Hell has you now" echoing in my thoughts. Even though I wasn't the most pious Christian, I assumed that my soul was saved by virtue of being a Christian, and since I had never committed any mortal sin, I never considered the possibility of ending up in hell. On my descent into hell, I remember hearing shrieks of agony so dreadful that their chorus of agonizing wails still haunts me to this day. My body, very suddenly ejected by the vortex, fell until it was stopped abruptly by hell's floor. Engulfed in utter darkness, I began to hear chirping that caused me some disquiet. In an attempt to distance myself from the source of the sound, I got up and walked in the opposite direction. However, the further I walked, the closer those sounds seemed to get. "God save me," I whispered upon realizing that the chirping noises were, at that moment, directly above me. "God cannot save you from this place." I heard something screech in response. "No, this cannot be. I've been a good Christian. God, help me," I beseeched. "I told you that he could not help you." "Hell has you," the voice shrieked in reply.
"Who are you, and where am I?" I asked.
"As we have said already, hell has you," the voice repeated. "I am not the most devout Christian, but I'm an otherwise good person, and I don't belong in hell," I concluded as I contemplated my predicament. "God, why me?" I cried in vain. "Do you really not know?" I heard a voice ask loudly. "Good Christians don't lie, cheat others, steal, and take his name in vain. Hell is indeed where you belong," the voice asserted. While the sickly scent of blood filled my nostrils, a stinging sensation spread through my suddenly wet abdomen. "Please stop. God, please make it stop," I begged as the demons took turns stabbing and torturing me. My shrieks of agony, however, only seemed to intensify the fervor with which the demons tortured me as they delighted in my anguish. As I yielded to the torment, I would find myself whole again, only for a new round of punishment to begin in an endless cycle. I can't tell you how many times my soul was ripped to shreds, but each time, I cried out to God for forgiveness. "Please God, make it stop," I was pleading, when light suddenly filled that place of darkness, illuminating it entirely, and in that illuminated void, I was able to see that my torturers were the most ghastly-looking creatures. Those demons with dark wings, hanging flesh, and razor-sharp teeth vainly attempted their escape as the refulgent light filled the void. As the brilliant light suffused the abyss, I felt the angel who arrived to save me grab my hand and pull me out of the gloomy pit. "Where are you taking me?" I asked. "To your rightful place," the angel replied. "Thank you, God, for your mercy," I prayed, knowing that it was through God's infinite mercy that I was saved. "We have arrived," the angel advised after a few moments, waking me from my semi-conscious state. As I cast my gaze upon the place where we had arrived, the landscape appeared devastated by war. Realizing I had fallen victim to a ruse fashioned by one of hell's agents, who appeared as an angel, I once again resigned myself, in a state of despondency, to the bitter fate of spending eternity in hell. As their torture continued, I was forced to watch multiple versions of a possible future for planet Earth. In a series of images, I witnessed war breaking out in Eurasia, with the Chinese and Russians fighting together against NATO, Turkey joining with Russia and China, and a host of other nations following them. I saw the United States invaded from all sides, and a nuclear bomb detonated over Washington, D.C. Amidst those images, I was shown a grim future for my family. "Why are you showing me this?" I asked. "Because we enjoy causing you suffering," the demon replied with unabashed rancor as he laughed gleefully. For what felt like years, the demons of hell subjected me to a variety of tortures, causing my mind to become utterly lost. "Father, why hast thou forsaken me?" I whispered despairingly when a bright flash of light appeared. It was then that I suddenly found myself standing on a cloud, observing the many recently deceased people being divided into those deemed worthy of heaven and those deemed unworthy. Among those souls, I saw a being with the features of a man but whose face radiated bright light. "You were never forsaken," the being communicated to me telepathically. "Get lost," I replied, believing the being's appearance to be another of hell's subterfuges. "You are no longer in hell," the being said, laughing heartily. "Because even after enduring years of torture, you still believed in God. That is why you're able to be saved," the light being explained. Warily, I remained silent, ready for the rug to be pulled out from under me again, but little by little, I let down my guard as that moment never arrived. Why was I subjected to such enduring torture? "Do you know all that I have been through?" I finally asked. "I know all and see all. I allow all," a disembodied voice replied. "I brought you back here for you to make your choice. You can remain in heaven, or you can go back to your life on earth. What will it be? Make your choice," he said. "If I decide to remain in heaven, what is to become of Earth's future?" I asked. "The future depends on your choices. Please, choose," the voice asked again. "I choose to go back to my life on Earth," I replied. "And so you shall," the voice replied. It was at that very moment that I awoke in a hospital room. I then began to describe everything that had occurred while my body was unconscious to the anesthesiologist. Observing his facial expression, I noticed that the color in his face turned pale. "I'm not permitted to discuss what happened while you were unconscious, but I can tell you that what you experienced wasn't a dream," he said before hurrying out of the room. About an hour later, my surgeon came in to go over all that had happened. He listened intently as I described what I had experienced in what seemed like a very vivid dream. "That wasn't a dream because you weren't asleep when you were anesthetized. You died on my table tonight, and it took us close to 10 minutes to get you back. Rest, we still need to run tests," he explained. During recovery, I began to ask others about their versions of events, as I couldn't believe the doctor's explanation. Everyone to whom I recounted my vivid dream would listen before telling me exactly the same thing the doctor had told me, that I died on the operating table and that it is impossible to dream while unconscious. I remained in recovery at the hospital for a month. Believe me when I say that hell is a real place inhabited by demons who aren't answerable to anyone. I would also like to say to all who would listen that just because you believe in God and haven't committed a mortal sin, it doesn't mean you are worthy of heaven. I implore you all to deepen your connection with God, no matter what your faith may be.